Ladies and gentlemen, Kalovradi, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're joining from. In Australia, it's 5:30 in the morning. Those poor fuckers don't even know what's happened. Um, Michel is gone, ladies and gentlemen. Olympiacos are looking for their fourth manager of the season. It looks like Jose Anigo is going to be taking over the reins against Bauk. But those are the facts. Michel Gonzalez is no longer Olympiacos manager. The club put out a statement, and I will translate it into English right now. Mr. Mitchell informed us of his decision to leave immediately from the club. Mr. Mitchell came at a difficult period for the club and he tried to help. We wish him nothing but success in the future. Mitchell stated, I informed the board of the club of my decision to resign. I think that this is the best time for the team. I thank the club for the cooperation throughout these challenging months. I leave as a friend and I wish for the team to achieve its objectives. And that ends his quote. The game on Wednesday, Jose Enigo will be taking charge in the game against Bauk. That is the club's official statement. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a incredible season. Who would have thought just before the international break, a 3-1 victory against AEK in Hagia Sophia had Olympiacos fans in raptures. We all remember fans showing up at Redi after the AEK game, after the victory in Hagia Sophia, flares, singing, dancing, and partying throughout the night. And then 2 weeks later, how things can change in football in just 20 minutes. What we saw yesterday in the Addis game, and Monday morning, 3rd of April, Mitchell is no more. The comments are flaring up already. We're going to put a poll in the chat in a moment and ask you, do you think this was the right decision? Keep the comments coming, but I'm immediately going to go to my co-host. I'm joined by Labros Sirmos, who's back in Europe, and we have Michel as well joining us. The right person that we can ask questions about when it comes to Jose Anigo. What can we expect from him? But I'm not going to preempt anything. Guys, fellas, who wants to go first?
Lambro, here you go.
Okay, shall I go first? Well, good evening, everyone. It's great to be back on the podcast. It's been a few months. As you all know, I was back in the US. Time difference, difficulties, schedules. It's great to be back on the podcast, maybe not on the best circumstances. But what's going through my mind? I was watching our introduction, which I do every time, and I see that at the end the video of Marcelo coming out. And it's been a shit show all year. I was thinking to myself, from the qualifiers, from Martins, from Marcelo, all of it. It may be the biggest shit show of Olympiacos. I don't know. I don't know if it tops the Bez Nikasi. I think it does. It's really a shit show. And it's like one of those moments where you smile through the pain. I remember when Michel got hired, we hopped on a podcast. And I thought he would be fired before January, I think. So he's made it to April 3rd. Not bad. But I think the opinion in the fan base is like everyone agrees Michel is a mediocre coach who probably is a better manager than manager himself. I don't think many people disagree with that comment. But the idea of sacking Michel right now was the right time is idiotic. Is the football Olympiacos playing kind of shit? Yes, it's a bit shit, it's a bit mediocre, but what's plan B here? What's plan B here? It's Anigo who last coached for Panionios. Like, and if it's not Anigo, who's next? Who's coming in? It makes no sense. And Costa and I were talking on the podcast, or not on the podcast, amongst ourselves when this shit hit the fan. And What happened? Inigo is your technical director, correct? That's his position. What happens when Inigo just absolutely fucks it and loses the championship, finishes in 4th or 5th place? Is he fired as technical director as well? And how is Inigo supposed to ready the team for the summer, ready transfers in the summer when he is now the head coach of the club? I wonder where Christian Carambe is. Like, what is he going to be doing? I don't know. I don't know. And another topic is Gate 7's role in this. They pushed for Michel to go out after Ike, which I think a lot of people, if that was the moment to do it, maybe. But then he got that great result with Ike again. He saved the day. Some mediocre football. The win against Thrylos was pretty ordinary. And then you come back and then the game blew up against Aris. It just didn't feel like this was the moment. I think everyone was very mad. Clearly, I was upset. Everyone was upset. But what are we doing here? Like, what is the plan here? There is no plan. What serious coach would come to this club now? Honestly, what serious coach would come? And what serious technical director would come? What do the players think even? Like, how can the players take the club seriously with this? With Inigo, your technical director, just randomly becoming your manager against. Aren't we only 3 points out of the title? We're 3 points out of the title, and what is the expectation? Inigo is going to win the club the title, or Inigo is going to coach one game, and then someone else is going to win the team the title. There's no logic. So for me, Michel was probably not going to win the championship, but he was going to maybe get you second, maybe get you third. I don't get the logic of it. I think we all realized Michel was pretty shit and not very good. But Michel brought the team back from minus 12 points and resembled a bit of a team. Was he shit? Yes. Are we shit as a roster and as a team? Also, yes. Like, look where we came from. We didn't win a single game in Europe this season. We didn't win a single derby. Our first derby win was Versailles. How many more times is it going to be the manager who goes and not the backroom staff and not the people making the decisions who need to step down? How many times can they take the blame? Anyway, that's my opinion to start. Martial, take it away.
Well, last night was like when I went to bed, I knew many things were lost in that draw against Aris because, first of all, you bottle a 2-0 lead. You lose Canos injured for 1 month. You lose Ba. Thank God it's not a big injury. And it was kind of obvious that a major turnaround just happened. But I wasn't aware of course, that it would cost Michel his job because, as you said before, we were all knowing like he wouldn't be the coach for the next season unless he would win the title. But I don't know, it felt like it was one of those nights in which everything goes out of plan. And then the kind of night you lose the title, you lose the locker room, you lose the psychology of the player that Michel has been built since he took over the team. And you mentioned the players' reaction before, but I think that from what I know, they also feel responsible for what is happening at Olympiacos because obviously coach will be sacked every time. That's how football works, but players have a major responsibility in this because you do not bottle a game like last night without being responsible. No matter who's on the pitch, no matter if Michel makes 3 subs, that makes no sense. So it's very hard to figure what is the current plan, as you said, because Inigo, from what I remember in Marseille, is not really a coach. He's much more a technical director, a scout, someone you put in the staff. I don't know exactly in which position he's the best, but obviously he's not a coach. I remember, obviously, as an Olympic fan, the time it took OM into the UEFA Cup final, but I think it was because he was led by Barthez in the goalpost and Drogba as a striker, and he created a good team. That's true, but tactically is not someone that is really remembered in Marseille, and is surrounded by so many dramas, legal stuff, and all that kind of stuff around him, make it impossible to have a proper vision of Anigo as a coach. So it will be a big surprise to see what he can do with this team.
But does he want to be a coach, though? It feels like he doesn't want to be a manager. He last managed, he's been working behind the scenes for a while now, other than,
Yeah, because it's too difficult for him to get into the spotlight, because he have faced so many things in his life, like losing his son, stuff like that. I'm not going into the details, but legal stuff in France and stuff like that. So he wanted to go back into a more hidden role in the club, and I think he was doing a great job in Olympiacos, hidden job, like pushing players to leave, empty the roster, stuff like that. Probably, like, if Ibagasa would be still the B coach team, it would have been a more clever choice to appoint him. But I'm not so sure Okas is better than Anigo right now as a coach.
I mean, guys, let's put some context into this, because I've got the statistics here. So since Michel joined, if you look at the amount of points that the clubs have amassed, Ajax has 54 points. This is since Michel joined. Ajax has 54 points. Olympiacos has 52. Panathinaikos has 48, and PAOK has 46 since Michel joined. He has 15 wins, 7 draws, and 1 loss against PAOK in the league. That was the first game that he coached back in October. And again, like, context is everything, right? Here we're talking about a manager that's come in late September when we were fifth. And the job description was, you have a bloated roster of 45 to 50 players. Your objective is to win the league. We're fifth. You have 45 players in your squad. We want you to win the league. It wasn't come here and build a squad. Come here and, make something, help us play good football, create something, just win the league. And in his press conference, when he joined, he said, I didn't come here for money. I come here because I love the club. We all know he has history at the club. He's popular in the backroom staff, etc. And let's not kid ourselves. This is probably the only manager that would have taken that job back then. And since he joined, facts, we were minus 12 and we're minus 3 now. So we're still in with a shot. Let me be clear. Let me be crystal clear. I do not think that Michel was the coach for us next season. Michel was an interim manager to take us to the end of the season, to try and salvage whatever we could this season. Simple as that. Yes, we've talked about, if he won the league, he would have earned the right to stay, possibly. But this isn't a manager that can, he's not the best at in-game management. We saw that yesterday. We've seen it in other games. So we know what he's good at, what he's not so good at. I think there's a massive lack of respect here. And I do feel for him in that regard, that he, his position became untenable, essentially. Like, we all know that he was late to the Cosmote interview yesterday. I think he was waiting for things to calm down after the end of the game. And we saw already in his post-match comments, like, there was some bitterness. So for 70 minutes, I was a good manager. For 20 minutes, I was terrible. And even, I think, after the Ajax game where we lost 3-0, he expressed some bitterness about, what did I inherit and what have we managed to do since he came in? And you can see already in the poll, like we've asked the question, should Michel have stayed until the end of the season? And quite a few of you have voted already. If you haven't voted already, guys, the poll's up on YouTube. 96% of you are saying yes, he should have stayed until the end of the season. Was the pressure too much? I mean, if he doesn't win against Bauk on Wednesday, he knows it's up. Like, he knows that it's going to be absolutely wild in the Karaiskaki on Wednesday. So,
it's illogical all the way. It's just illogical from top to bottom. It's just not setting the record. The facts are, we all agree Michel was average. Yes. Michel was brought in because he was the only option. Yes. Did Michel clear out the squad? Yes. Did he form some sort of squad? Yes. Did he bring Olympiacos to striking distance of the championship? Yes. Okay, so he did those things. Did he suck and lose some results because he was just a mediocre coach? Yes. Yes. All of these things can be true at the same time. We're allowed to have multiple point of views, but I think the only thing you can say now is, what is the positive end of firing Michel now? Like, why not before the international break? Right? And then you give a new coach time to work with the team. It makes no sense.
It reminds me when we appointed Oscar Garcia. I think it was March or April. Yeah. And he took over the team for like 8 games, 9 games, and we knew he wasn't going to last. And probably Inigo is not an outside solution, so he will probably lead the team until the end of the season, and the club is probably going to work on a profile that will probably look like Martin's, because as you said before, it's impossible to attract big coach in Olympiacos right now for many reasons. So probably the builder profile will be the solution.
Yeah, but I see this comment too. Michel was not fired.
Yeah. He was resigned, or he resigned, or he was resigned.
Yeah. I know. I'm not going to say anything about that, but what Martial said, it did strike me deja vu. It felt to me a bit when I read this. I didn't get the chance to think about it quite a bit, but it reminded me of this Takis Lemonis thing, where Takis Lemonis brought the team back and they were at least competitive. I think they were in first place in the league, but then the club was like, well, it's not good enough, and he's got to go, and we'll get the next option. He'll take us the next step, and then that option destroyed the club.
That was Garcia, but
that was Garcia. It reminds me of that, where it's like Takis Lemonis, aka Michel, was good. He got us the results. He brought us back, but the club's like, now if we get rid of him, we can go up a level. I don't know. I honestly, it makes no logic in my head, but.
This is another fun fact, but during the Marinakis era, this is the 3rd time in the past few years that Olympiacos changes 4 managers in one season. The first was 2016-2017 season. We started out with Marco Silva, then hired Victor Sanchez, then went with Paulo Bento, only for Bento to get sacked, and then Vuzas as interim manager, I think against Besiktas included, and then Lemonis ending that season. The following season, 2017-2018, Besnik Hassi takes over, gets us into the Champions League group stages, gets sacked after losing to AEK and Sporting Lisbon. Takis Lemonis takes charge again. Oscar Garcia then takes over, only to then leave, and Christos Kodis was managing the team. That's just before Pedro Martins joined in the 2018 season. And now, 4 years later, you have Martins gone, Corberan gone, Michel gone, and Jose Inigo taking over.
I think it's going to be 5, though. I think they find someone.
So there is some talk already in the press that it's going to be a bit of a wait and see. But honestly, like I can't fathom that any serious manager is actually going to take this job. to the end of the season.
Not even from the summer, I think, though. I think you rule yourself out from the summer with this move. I don't think a serious manager comes in the summer either, because
So we've done ourselves some serious damage here, reputationally.
Michel has some good relationships in football too. It's not a good look. The players too are going to speak about this with their friends. It's not good.
It depends. It all depends on the money anyway.
Yeah.
Of course, you won't get someone like, I don't know. We struggled to get Bilic last summer because they won't get into that mess because they can expect a job in Premier League and stuff. But if you go into the Portuguese market, maybe Spanish market, I don't know.
Yeah. But one thing I was wondering, we can go back to this point of resignation versus firing. Do you think, because he was begging for his job on Instagram, he was like, I remember they wrote him a happy birthday post and he goes, I hope I'm here next year. Like, I hope the club will have me, something like that.
Yeah.
And so what happened in between that? Was there some sort of, were the Gate 7 announcement so infuriating to him that he said, okay, I'm done. Like, you don't want me here. You want something better, then I'll walk. Was that the logic? Was the club also pressured by the supporters to go a different direction? Because logically, it doesn't make sense. It just feels like, when a car rear ends someone and then they rear end the next person, then they rear end the next one, and then you're in this, because logically it doesn't make so much sense. But I guess
there are like three scenarios or three interpretations for me. One is that Michel himself he thought, do you know what? Like, I don't deserve this. I've come into a ridiculous situation and I've brought the club to striking distance of the top, and there's still 8 games to go. 2 derbies against Bau, 2 derbies against Bauk, 2 derbies against Ajax to play in the playoffs, and I'm getting shit on for absolutely everything. Do you know what? Fuck you. I'm off. That's one interpretation. Second interpretation is that I think the club forces him to resign. Say, mate, sorry, the ultras are after you. And it's not the first time we see that. You need to go. And the third is that he's looked at the situation quite calmly and cynically and said, again, kind of like, do you know what? Like, if I lose against Bauk, I'm done anyway, so I might as well walk. He's got Bauk and Panathinaikos away on Sunday after the midweek game. So you could kind of see it a little bit in his body language yesterday, almost, that he knows he fucked up yesterday too. He knows that he's made mistakes. Like, I can't understand still the 3 substitutions. The only possible explanation is for him that, he had in his mind that, do you know what, I'm going to play with these players and this is my game plan, and I'm going to make 3 changes at the end and rest Juan, Fortunis and Bakambu. Still doesn't explain to me why Valbuena hasn't come on, or El Arabi, or why he's chosen to play with Kasami for 90 minutes and all of this. But yeah, again, we've said it before. Like, we know that he's not a top manager, that he couldn't adapt. Like yesterday, he couldn't adapt to the fact that he's gone 2-1 down and the game plan's changed, and he couldn't change his strategy on the fly. He wasn't agile enough to do it. But again, it's like, what do we have to gain here? Is it really going to have an impact, like a positive impact even, or a negative impact, putting Kosei Inigo in charge for Wednesday's game? Like, is Inigo somebody that's going to like motivate them for the Bauk game? Like, can you give us any sense of that, like, Marshall? Like, what kind of impact could Jose Inigo possibly have going into a game like the one on Wednesday and then playing Panathinaikos on the weekends? Like,
the only thing that makes me optimistic is Inigo had to work in Marseille, which is probably the club that looks like the more Olympiacos in Europe, meaning you have powerful fans, you have fans that can attack the team, attack the coach, threaten the players, creating hostile atmosphere. And sometimes you have to step up in the middle of the pressure. And he did it in Marseille many times. Sometimes it turned out to be good. Sometimes it was kind of a disaster. But he knows how to work under pressure. So probably he will like not help player, because I think that most of the players in Olympiacos are already used to that pressure. But I don't really understand why he can give to the player, but at least he can I don't know to say that, he can try new faces. You mentioned Valbuena. Of course, Anigo has strong ties with Valbuena because he brought it into Marseille. He spotted him in a small club in France. So probably he will make those 2 or 3 changes in the lineup that could initiate a new dynamic. But I'm not so sure, like in terms of tactics, it will change anything, because it will probably look like an auto coaching team. I don't know how to say that in English, but players will probably keep doing what they used to do this season, because Michel probably gave some identity to the team compared to Martins during the preseason and Corberan after that. But I think that Anigo is probably the perfect guy to face PAOK and Panathinaikos away, because he knows pressure. Like, it's not like you would throw, I don't know, some foreign coach that is not used to Greek football, and you would throw him against PAOK and Panathinaikos in crucial games. I mean, Anigo is able to take responsibilities, to face that pressure, and probably it will take away some pressure from the players. I hope so, because we will need that. We need players to step up and to show that they have pride and they want to finish the season as good as possible. It's not about the title, but you have to win that game against PAOK, because you didn't beat PAOK once this season. They won the first game in Kaliskakis, was a draw in Tumba, so you have to win that game. And I mean, I would say that Hanigo doesn't really matter in that equation, because it's up to the player from now, no matter who's the coach.
Yeah. But it's a good point about Anigo coming from such a hot environment, OM. It's super similar, kind of, it's almost like a Greek club in France. It's so unstable. The fans are so powerful, etc., etc. But yeah, I'm wondering about the role of Mathieu Valbuena now. He hasn't played much this season. Is he gonna play a role as almost like the assistant of Anigo? You think? You would also think maybe Karambe gets more involved in the coaching, but does he do that? Does he know how to do that? I don't know. So what I wonder is, like, who's even going to run training? Because Michel's going to take his son and whoever else he brought with him, the 2 or 3 guys. Like, is he going to count on Valbuena to run training? There's so many questions that come to mind. Is a academy coach is going to run the training? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's a good point, because I've been thinking about that, because if we end up with Hanigo being the main solution for the bench, like, just think about it. If you take that situation in another club, like, who's going to take the team? It would probably be the assistant coach, the B team coach, the under-19 coach. And when you look at Olympiacos, B team coach is Yanis Okas. I'm not sure it will be a top coach, probably a Super League 2 coach in the future. Just look at the B
He just
team.
got destroyed by Kalamata. Like, what? This guy's going to be the coach of Olympiacos first team? The guy can't even...
You tell me, in Olympiacos, with the amount of teams we have, there is no one like under 19 coach that could step up as the first team coach. Why it has to be Anigo that takes that role? Just think about, like I know, Costa, you're a Tottenham fan. You would think that in Tottenham the sport director would take over the team if Conte gets that. No, it does not happen. You have the 123 team coach that would step up. It makes no sense, and it shows that the academy area is very poorly run, because you have no inside solution. And same applies for the players, because we let, like, someone like Kinkwe go to France, and he played his first game with the future League One team, while we have no solution for the centre back. We have no inside solution. And if Anigo is that inside solution, I think it's kind of scary. And I have massive respect for Anigo, but he's a sport director, not a coach.
Yeah. And if you look,
we needed someone like Pablo Garcia.
I was going to say the same thing. If this happened at PAOK, you have Pablo Garcia, who's run an academy that's now selling players for millions of euros. Yeah. You have tons of players coming through.
If you have to lose the title, then why not with the under-19 coach and with players like Carlos Georgopoulos, Kosti, Surlis that came back, I don't know, Pinakas.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, but you have to lose with something that will create foundation for the future.
Yeah.
Do you think do you think that we've thrown in the towel this season? Or do you think they're still so stubborn, like on the board level?
I think they believe. I think they seriously
still believe that we can win the league.
I think they do. I think they do.
I don't know.
Anigo is the choice that makes you believe. Like Anigo is the choice you make if you still believe we can win a title. If you're throwing in the flag, as we say, you would take you take the under-21 coach.
I just don't know how many more punches to the stomach and like punches to the face we can receive this season. Because like I agree with like a lot of the comments, you know, some of you are saying, what about the players? Like they've got three managers sacked. Yeah, the players have some blame too. There's plenty of blame to go around, but it feels like Olympiacos has just been a punching bag for like the entire season. And you know, Labro, you've described Olympiacos as a train wreck waiting to happen since last season. We saw it with Martins, and you know, if Martins' team from last season was playing in this league this year, I think we would have struggled too. Like you said earlier today that the situation currently kind of reflects like how bad the league is. But I would say Panathinaikos, PAOK, and AEK are an improvement of their teams from last season. We've just continuously regressed and gone down levels. And my point here is like, how much longer do we have to take this? I'm perfectly like okay to say like this is a blip season and it's a season in transition and we fucked up big time. But I don't see anyone taking responsibility. I don't see anyone taking responsibility at the board level. It's all okay, next manager, move on. It doesn't give me confidence for next season because I consider myself a reasonable man. Yeah, I consider myself a reasonable human being. And I'm not going to be the one to, you know, scream and like go outside a player's house or, you know, go outside Reddy or go outside Olympiakos' offices and scream for change or anything like that. But there are people that will do that. And how much longer is it going to take till we see some real decisions taken for the future of the club? Because I'm struggling. I worry about next season. I don't give a fuck if we don't win the league this year. With everything, like if we win the league this season, we've defied all footballing logic. We defy all footballing logic if we were to win the league this season. And, you know, there is a school of thought that says if we win the league this season, then it's like we're congratulating the leadership or the people that make decisions at this football club for all the fuck-ups of the summer and for all the bad decisions. Do we need a punishment? It's not about that, but like, you know, that's the question being asked. It's not about the punishment. It's like, when will we learn? Is this what it took? Yes. Who's going to take that bloody job? And next season too, there's the financial fair play. If we don't get Champions League, the owner can't put money to raise the capital. We have to sell players. If Marinakis were to inject more money into the club to make up for the gap in finances, we will be in breach of FFP. We can't do that again for a third year in a row. So there's like something's got to give. Something's got to give. I'm worried about next season. I'm really worried about next season. I'm not even thinking anymore. It's done now for me. Like the season's over. It's just like, okay, next game. I can't. No matter how much of an emotional roller coaster this has been, up and down, we think, oh no, it's over. Oh no, it's not. We're still in it. Yeah, we're 3 points, 3 points off the top. But honestly, I want to see a clear future. I want to see footballing logic. And it's not there. And that's what makes me more upset than anything in all of this. I'll stop there.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Completely.
And I think that sometimes the punishment we face is the only way to change the policy of the club. I mean, like going into Conference League with players like Solis, younger player, Kitsos coming back, Leitner, stuff like that. Reducing the roster, selling some player, and starting over on the low. I mean, with humility, something that is lacking in the club, because we can't. I've said it on the chat. We lacked respect to football so many times this season. You think that you can pass every team in Europe just because you have massive history. It's not working anymore. I would love to see Olympiacos in Conference League right now, to see if we can even beat teams like Sivasspor or Ghent, the team in which Kuipers is playing. I'm not sure we would win against those teams. So we have to start over. We have to, I don't know, to have some faith in players, to have some, I don't know. I tend to agree with what you say. We don't see anything to rely on. I mean, even if we win the league, and I agree with the comment that says if we win the league, like Hayek and Panathinaikos should stop existing, because if they don't win it this season, then they won't win in ever, because we are so vulnerable. And concerning Michel, I think when you say the statistics he had with Olympiacos, he has so many draws. Like if you turned 3 or 4 draws into wins, we would be first, like without a doubt, because even being average, I think Michel hasn't lost a game in the league, if I'm correct.
PAOK.
No, he wasn't there. He arrived right after that. He lost to Hayek in the cup.
PAOK was his first game in charge in early October. Is the game we lost 1-0? I think it was.
I'm not so sure.
I honestly, because Corberan was out after Aris lost.
Yeah.
True.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter anymore. But it's just crazy, Honestly,
this is pretty bang on. Like GS comments, in the space of 3 to 4 years, we've gone from one of the best Olympiacos teams on the park to probably one of the worst.
Yeah. But
that Bobby Alain Piquet changed
the history of a club.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you guys, but I would honestly, at this point, I would trade the James Rodriguez's and Marcelo's and everything of the world to kind of just start off fresh and have competent leadership at the club, and a sort of strategy that every time I go to the stadium, I can support what's going on and I can see what's going on. A young coach playing attacking football. I would trade it for all of the James Rodriguez's and Manolas at this point, and bombs and all of that. I would just like to see the club bring in someone young, bright, with ideas, attacking football, willing to play players who are younger. Like Leidner is scoring in derbies in Vienna, but he wasn't good enough for Greek football. It's a shame.
It's not even about. I mean, I get your point,
but I want to see a project. My point is, I want to see a project. Like I would trade all of the big wages.
You had a project. You had a project manager, but you didn't want to support him because you had to win the league. That's all that's important, is winning the league.
Yeah.
And we don't know. We will never know how Corberan would have done. And maybe like Corberan maybe should have come like 1 or 2 seasons down the road, or like, different story if he'd taken the club at the beginning of pre-season. It may have been a completely different story, but we'll just never know.
I'm not so sure with the mentality of the players that it would have worked in Olympiacos. I mean, championship players are probably the kind of player that every coach want to have, because they are probably the most workers you will find in a locker room, because the league is very difficult. And just look how Bielsa changes leads, because it's easier to work with those players. They basically never get tired because they used to play like 40 games a season. I'm not so sure Corberan would have been able to do that, but as you say, we will never know.
Yeah, we'll never know. So what's the next step here? So reality has set in now. I'll ask you guys this question. Where does Olympiacos go next? Like, best case scenario, what are we looking at? Does anyone okay, so best case scenario, like if I was the one making the decision, I'd say, okay, the team needs a spark. I'm firing Michel. I bring in Inigo. He's going to push us over the edge and win a championship, and we're going to start looking for a coach now to sell the project to. Is that like best case scenario, the idea, like whoever's made this decision or who's trying to implement it is thinking, like, right? Is that?
So there are 2 things that come to my mind, and one is that, again, there's no clear organogram in the backroom staff. Who's looking for the manager? The technical director. Who's the technical director? Jose Inigo. What's Jose Inigo doing? He's coaching the team against Balk and probably until the end of the season. So who's looking for the next manager? Who's deciding? Like, this is Caribe. Caribe bought Pedro Martins. Is Caribe looking for the new manager? Is Caribe in Spain now talking to Marcelinho? I don't know. But that's one question. The second is, you can't talk to a manager without knowing where you're going to finish. Because it's a completely different proposition. Like, it's a different discussion to go and speak to a manager like Marcelinho. Again, let's take that example. So I go and talk to Marcelinho in Spain. I'm playing Champions League qualifiers next season. We had a shit season last year. We made terrible decisions. We're going to change the way we work. We want you to come in. We'll give you a 2+1 year contract. Come and build a team. Blank check. We'll give you a good budget. Decide which players you like, which players you don't like. Now. But you can't. You have to wait until the end of April, beginning of May to know where you're going to finish. It's a different discussion if you say to him, I'm starting Europa League, I'm starting Champions League. So you can't do shit. We can't talk to a manager unless you decide to drop your standards and say, no disrespect, like Gennaro Gattuso was a fantastic football player. But do we really want everyday Malakia as our coach?
No.
He knows the league. No.
He's used to work in a shit show club, because Valencia is probably one of the poorest run club in Europe right now. So on this point, he knows what is to work in crazy environment. But I don't know. But I'll just go back to what you said. I think that why probably we are going to go for someone like Martins when he came, because Martins, when he came, he would have come no matter which position Olympiacos was at the end of the season, because when you come from a medium-sized Portuguese club, you don't care if Olympiacos is first, second, or playing Conference League. For you, it's already a big opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, Champions League is better, but if you have to rebuild the club, at least it gives you more space to fail. And I think Martins knew it was going to give him like 1 year of work, even if he didn't win the title, compared to coming to a strong Olympiacos. And we don't have to miss the opportunity to go for a club for a coach, that starting to do well in a smaller club, maybe. Because if we go for a profile like Marcelinho, it's only for the Champions League, I guess. He won't come for a Conference League or stuff like that, unless we give him crazy money. But I'm not even sure it would be convinced. It's the kind of guy to say no to a big contract in Olympiacos and to coach a middle-ranked Spanish club.
But I saw this pertaining to Valbuena and others. The comment says we need an injection of new blood ideas. While I can't speak to the roles, I'd love to see a combination of the likes of Fuster, Valbuena, Cambiaso given a chance. And so it almost feels, this is bad, but the people in the backroom staff are like Greek public sector employees, like, or any public sector bureaucrats. Like, can they be fired? Like, what can they do to get fired, man? Like, in any company in the world, let's say you fired your manager or president or whatever 3 times in under a year, 4 times. I know football is not like any other industry, but other people would get fired for making these decisions, you know? I would love to see someone in the club who can very clearly. I've heard Karambe speak very little because he just gives like weird speeches. But when I hear him speak, I'm not so bought. But when you see Valbuena speak about Olympiacos or Fuster, you know that they can explain in French, in Spanish, exactly what's expected and what the club is like to players. And they have a nose for players who will fit in the club, I think, really well. You know, like they can sniff them. Like, I think Valbuena can sniff out who's going to be good and who's shit, you know?
I'm not going to criticize Karambe, but I don't know how to say that, but from the 98 generation of French football player that won the World Cup, is one of the few that did not try to be a coach. And I kind of agree with what you say, Labro, because when you hear him speak about football, you know that it does not have it. I mean, to be a coach or to be someone that gave top advices when it comes to create a club structure compared to Valbuena, because Valbuena, it is football. Like Foster probably too, but I don't know him like I know Valbuena. Valbuena knows football. He lives football. He's probably watching football every week, every day. He craves for that, and he will stay in football when he will retire. But I'm not sure that Foster or Valbuena would turn into good coaches or good technical director, because it's more difficult than that. And maybe Valbuena has more chances to do it because he has a bigger network than Foster, because it is a bigger name, if I can say that, in football. But probably Cambiaso would be a good, decent option, but I don't know if he's a good coach. But Riera, Albert Riera is a good coach too. Riera. Sorry for the pronunciation.
No worries. But another point, which I think is like the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about, is Nottingham Forest is in shit form and could go down as well in the next few weeks. And what does that mean for, one, us, and two, the Marinakis family role in Olympiacos? Like, what does Nottingham Forest going down and being relegated mean for both us and the future of the club? You know, that's a big worry as well. I know people don't want to talk about it, but them staying up would give us more breathing room, in my opinion, to figure things out. Because it's going to be a disaster organizationally if they go down. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a valid question, Labra, because there was a lot of talk about Steve Cooper possibly getting the sack on the weekend if they didn't win against Wolves. And there was some reporting by our friend Paul Taylor in The Athletic, and apparently the ownership wasn't happy at how the game went on the weekend. Cooper taking off a striker and putting on a defender and losing a 1-0 lead, so on and so forth. And yeah, you talk about the instability at Olympiacos all season, but Forest are about to go and play Leeds away from home tomorrow in a massive game. Like, Leeds are, I think they're in the drop zone, and Forest have a really poor away record. And why am I saying all of that? If Forest don't beat Leeds tomorrow, it could be that Steve Cooper does get the sack, and you have a situation in which the ownership at Olympiacos just is about to put in a fourth manager and sack another manager in the same week at Nottingham Forest. So your point is valid, because again, somebody's looking at that from the outside. It's like, Jesus Christ, like these guys, they own two clubs and they're both in a bit
in the
of a
worst case
state.
scenario for them, right? Like, this is the worst case scenario for Forest. It's the worst case scenario for Olympiacos right now, right?
But I'm telling you, like, if you're a Forest fan, like, and you're looking at what's going on at Olympiacos right now and looking at the game tomorrow against Leeds, yeah, it's not boding well. That's a massive game for many, many reasons. We can speculate about the consequences. If Forest get relegated, you could say, oh, maybe we'll be able to pick up some of their players. But I don't know. I think, this has been a massive distraction all season, we know. But you're not wrong to make a connection there, Labra.
It's the elephant in the room. Like, it's a disaster brewing. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I kind of want to, let's wrap up as we're getting to an hour and this was unscheduled. Let's say our prediction for how this is going to, what is Olympiacos Football Club going to look like in July? Like, what are the steps to what are the results and steps that's going to just, where do you think this is going? Like, honestly, I don't want the best case scenario. I don't want the worst case scenario. Where do you think this goes? Where?
I think it's going into a major changes in terms of football player, and something that has to be a massive strength for Olympiacos is the loanees that will come back, because if we don't get Champions League football, we will have to sell players and we will have less money on the market. And I know it sounds naive, but it's the kind of situation in which a loanee can get back into the team, because we basically have no other solution. Compared to a team like under Martins, when we were powerful, he would go for 2 or 3 players for each position, and that kind of killed every dynamic he created before. So probably we are going until something new, I hope. It can get worse, obviously, but plans will be made anyway. So I'm just hoping for that, for some friendlies that will give player a chance to show that they can compete in Olympiacos. Unlike last summer, in which we see, I think we saw Avram play friendlies, and it was the beginning of the end for me.
Has he been on the bench?
When you think about it, like Avram playing friendlies and then he retired.
Retiring.
I mean,
the team could have used him on Sunday instead of Thrylos.
We should go for the first lineup of the season, we would be so surprised to see which lineup Martins put on the first friendly.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Of course, same to
you. I think we need a similar kind of clear out to the one we had in the 2018 season. Michel talks about the loanees that are coming back, and we actually touched on that yesterday on the episode. And you think about the players that are coming back. Agibu Kamara's coming back, Fadiga's coming back, Bukhalagis is coming back, Mamadou Kane is coming back. You've already got 4 central midfielders. Madi Kamara, I forgot, is coming back. 5 central midfielders.
Pepe can come back too.
Pepe can come back. Maxi Levera is coming back. Philip Zinkenagel's coming back. Henry Onyekuru's coming back. Hassan's coming back.
They're not just gone forever. I thought they were gone forever. That's
Right.
the management at Olympiacos. Like, oh my God, they came back. I thought we got
you've got like around 20 players coming back. What are you like?
Cisse's brother is coming back too.
Yeah. But you know what? Pape Cisse is in contention to play against Bauk. I'm just reading.
Shut up.
No. This is the great patriarch of Olympiakos, football reporting in Greece, Mr. Nikolakopoulos. I think reporting that Pape Cisse is being considered.
He's being
he will be activated. Exactly. Yes. Ενεργοποιείται ξανά. Αφού εσώς και αν το ετοιμάζεται να τον ρίξει ξανά στη μάχη.
It's kind of insane, but it makes sense. Inigo probably likes him,
It's so predictable, right? But like, why was he gone all this time? If the technical director, like he's the technical director, but the technical director doesn't decide who plays. Like, I really don't. It's mind-boggling. It's really mind-boggling sometimes. So, like, forgive me that you ask a pertinent question, Labro, but I can't see. Like, I can't see.
It's so hard to think about this club logically. And then it's really nice when we come here and we theorize and young players and vision, and then you go back and you read the news and it's like 38-year-old striker from Turkey is being ready, or just like random stuff. It's like actually like 42-year-old Avram is being readied for Sunday. It's like, what? Wait, what? So I get what you're saying.
Avram comes out of retirement.
Could you imagine? It's like
Paul
Avram. He's already been registered in the team. Avram is being readied for. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah, even on the technicality, like he's registered for Greek Super League, so he's ready to play. Like,
he's got 15 minutes in him or something. I don't know. Just.
I don't know, mate. I don't know. I think Olympiacos, like, I think the one thing we could all agree on is that Olympiacos needs a massive reboot.
Yeah.
Hit the like button if you think Olympiacos needs a massive reboot. Like, we've had consistently over about 60-70 people following the show tonight, guys. Thank you. I know we haven't managed to get through like all the comments. Hope you've enjoyed the discussion, or thank you for sharing in our pain tonight. We're all concerned about what the next step is. But yeah, hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Subscribe if you're following for the first time. We're Gate 7 International, your number one English source for all things Olympiacos. Speak Greek too. I know we always get that question. Again, massive thank you to everyone that's joined tonight. Labra, do you want to answer your own question?
What I think happens is I actually think a lot of people will get the sack in the summer. I do think a lot of people will get sacked in the back room and they'll bring some people in. I think this season will end, and I'm going to come out and say it since everyone's so negative. I think Inigo will do a bit better than people think. I think we'll still finish top 3.
Do you think we'll finish top 2?
Not top 2, top 3 though. But Panathinaikos is so bad, man.
They're really not that good, man.
They're really
not that good.
They're very
for
poor.
fuck's sake.
But we have Inigo as our manager.
No.
So it's
just look at you can't look because it's on my screen, but 5 years ago, I just remember that when Inigo was coaching Olympiakos, he almost got on a fight with Lucescu on the bench.
Oh my god!
And
Oh,
no,
dear.
you know, it's funny because the what I said before about Anigo being used to work in pressure, and the only thing I've watched the game Paul Ike last Sunday, and every time a team does not fall into Paul game about making the game more dirty, like because I got a goal rule off for nothing, and they kept trying until they scored a very beautiful goal, by the way. And I hope Anigo will say to the player that it's time for Olympiacos to be the bad guy in this kind of game. You know what I mean? Like, it's against PAOK, it's not to win beautifully. You just have to win. You know how they will come to Olympiacos. Lucescu is already ready to cry about Athenian team and stuff like that. So you know they will come to Olympiacos, to Karaiskakis, to make that game dirty. And I assume that Anigo knows that very well. And I don't know, maybe he will use other players like Valbuena because it makes sense, but
He signed Bitiki too. He's the one who signed Bitiki, so maybe Bitiki gets a chance and Gary Rodriguez gets bent off.
Was it his signing? Was it his signing? Do we know that?
He was technical director when he signed. I don't know. Of course not. You tell me.
I hope it's up to the player to win that anyway.
Yeah, it's the players. There's no coaching in this. So let's close on this. I was saying to Adi that Olympiacos this season is like a train wreck, but like the train pushes through the wreck a bit and just keeps hitting other cars, you know, like it keeps going. You keep seeing the cars. I think I wouldn't say it's a train wreck anymore. I would say it's a full-on circus. And I think we're laughing and joking so much because like that's the only reaction you can make. Like you can't be angry anymore. How can you be angry anymore and yelling? It's just, you need to just laugh at what it is. It's a joke. It's mismanagement. It's incompetence. What really hurts though is this is our team, you know, and we like going to the stadium. We like seeing Olympiacos grow as a club, and all they're doing is making the club a laughingstock. But that's all I got to say for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think we can wrap it up. It's just been going on for over an hour. Again, guys, thank you for watching, especially if you've made it this far. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Game against PAOK on Wednesday. It's a 9:00 kickoff local time in Greece. Jose Anigo taking in charge for that one. Let's see what kind of changes, if any, we're going to see on Wednesday. Never a dull moment, ladies and gentlemen, this season. Okay, well, until Wednesday, we'll be back. Have a good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're following from. We're Gate 7 International. See you next time.